If you're a long-distance runner, you know the feeling. The real race, the hard part, isn't always in your legs. It's in your head. Well, today, we're going to push past the usual advice. We're going to dig into the hard data behind winning that mental battle and see what the numbers actually tell us. So let's just start with this pretty wild statistic. According to a bunch of different studies, somewhere between 43 and 53% of all marathoners say they have experienced that thing we all dread, hitting the wall. That's basically a coin flip. It's an incredibly common experience. Now look, the physical stuff, like running out of fuel, glycogen depletion, that is absolutely real. But here's where it gets interesting. The data shows that what you're thinking about during a race can literally change whether you hit that wall or not. Your mental game isn't just fluff. It is a measurable, critical piece of your performance. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll define what hitting the wall even means, using data. Then we'll get into the two main mental tricks runners use, association and dissociation. After that, we dive deep into the performance data, check out some new research on visual focus, and finally, we'll put it all together into a mental toolkit you can actually use. All right, first up, the runner's mental wall. Let's get really specific here. We're moving beyond just saying, I got tired, and looking at how researchers actually define and measure this thing. So researchers have pinpointed these 4 specific signs. It's not just feeling beat. Hitting the wall is defined by this combo platter of 1, just overall fatigue. 2, an unintentional slowing of your pace, like you're trying to go fast, but you just can't. 3, this overall urge to just walk. And 4, this really key mental shift where your brain just goes into pure survival mode. Okay, so we know what the wall is. How do we beat it? Well, to get there, we first need to understand the 2 basic mental strategies that pretty much all runners use, whether they know it or not. First up is association. You can think of this as your internal dashboard. You are deliberately paying attention to what's going on inside. You're monitoring your breathing, you're feeling your muscle tension, you're checking your form, you're gauging your effort. It's a constant, focused check-in. And then there's the complete opposite, dissociation. This is all about checking out. You're actively trying to distract yourself from the pain and discomfort by focusing on literally anything else. The crowd, the music, maybe you're planning your grocery list. It's a distraction game. And when you put them side by side like this, the differences are just crystal clear. Association has an internal focus to monitor and regulate. Dissociation has an external focus to distract and endure. But look at this last part, because the data shows a really fascinating pattern. Elite, super competitive runners, they tend to use association, and it's linked to faster times. Recreational runners, on the other hand, often lean on disassociation, which is linked to feeling like the run is easier. Okay, so we have these 2 opposing strategies. But let's move past the definitions and get to the good stuff. What does the hard evidence say? What happens when you actually put this stuff to the test? Let's start with this really foundational study from the 1996 London Marathon. Researchers talked to 66 non-elite runners right after they crossed the finish line and had them rate what kinds of things they were thinking about during the race. And this table right here shows the numbers they crunched. It's the average score for each thought pattern. Now, if you look at the first few rows, the scores are pretty similar for the runners who hit the wall and those who didn't. But then, look at that bottom row, inward distraction. That means actively trying to block out what your body is telling you. And right there, you see a huge, statistically significant difference. This chart makes that one finding impossible to miss. The runners who hit the wall had an inward distraction score of 0.89. The ones who didn't hit the wall, just 0.42. That's more than double. The data here is basically screaming at us. Trying to completely ignore your body's signals is probably the riskiest mental strategy you can possibly use. Okay, so that was 66 runners. Now let's zoom out, way out. A huge analysis in 2021 didn't just survey a few dozen people. It analyzed the raw pacing data from over 4 million race results to see who actually slows down enough to be considered hitting the wall. And one of the clearest things that jumped out from this enormous data set was a major difference between men and women. Check out the chart. The data showed that 28% of the male runners hit the wall. For female runners, it was only 17%. That's a huge difference, suggesting men are significantly more likely to have that late race collapse. But, science doesn't stand still. The research has gotten even more specific than just association versus dissociation. Now it's looking at a very precise tool, how we use our eyes. And this quote from Dr. Emily Balcetis, who's a leading researcher on this, just nails the concept. The big idea is that narrowing your vision on purpose, focusing on a single spot ahead, isn't just something that happens when you get tired. It's a proactive mental strategy that can actually make you faster. And this table shows you the proof. It's not just a feeling, it's measurable. When runners were told to use this attentional narrowing, their performance outcome was a faster pace and better finish times. But here's the key. Look at the physiological data. Their heart rates were higher, which means they were able to put out more effort. It's a direct, measurable link between where you look and how hard you can push. So, we've looked at the what, the how, and the why, all backed by data. So what do we do with all this? How do we turn this research into a real strategy we can use? Let's build our mental toolkit. Here it is, a simple 4-step plan with every single step backed by the data we just went through. Number 1, on your easy runs, go ahead, dissociate. The data shows it makes the run feel easier. Number 2, on race day, you want to favor association. It's consistently linked to faster times. Number 3, to stay away from that wall, do frequent associative check-ins. And whatever you do, avoid that total internal dissociation. Remember that 1996 study showed us that's the most dangerous path. And finally, number 4, when it gets really tough, use visual narrowing. Lock onto a streetlight or another runner, because the latest data shows that this can directly help you push harder. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. The data is absolutely clear that learning performance is a mix of your body and your mind. So it really makes you wonder, if you spend all that time training your legs, but you spend 0 time training your brain, how much speed are you just leaving out there on the course?